In Lesson 2.6, you created a two-dimensional array of bool variables to indicate the position of mines for a Minesweeper game. In this lesson, you'll add code to iterate through each element in your two-dimensional array and make the web application fully functional. To begin, open the Sweep for Mines project from your sample files folder. And open the code behind file of default.aspx. Now, you'll need to add code to iterate through the first dimension of the array. Add the following code at the bottom of the page load event handler. For int x equals 0, x is less than minegrid.getLength 0, x++. This is a simple for loop. The getLength method is used to get the number of elements in a specified dimension of an array. You want the length of the array's first dimension, so you asked the method for dimension 0. Next, add code to cycle through the second dimension of the array. Add the following code inside the for loop you just created. For int y equals 0, y is less than minegrid.getLength 1, y++. Because this for loop is nested inside the previous one, it will run each time the first for loop cycles. This means that for every address on the x-axis, the code will run through every address on the y-axis. This technique allows you to iterate through each element of any two-dimensional array. You could easily adapt this lesson's code to iterate through a three-dimensional array. Here's how three-dimensional iteration code would work. For int z equals 0, z is less than minegrid.getLength 2, z++. You could, of course, iterate through even more dimensions by adding even more for loops. Next, you'll need to add code to check the value of each element. Because your for loops will search through every element in the array, you can now check each value. You're searching for a true value, indicating that a mine is present at that location. Add the following code inside the second for loop. If minegrid x, y equals true. This code uses the iteration variables from both for loops in order to check each item in the array. For example, the first iteration will check if minegrid 0 equals true. The second will check if minegrid 1 equals true, and so on. Next, you'll need to add code to update the tables on the page. Add the following code inside the if statement. Table mask dot rows y dot cells x dot css class equals mine here. Table mines dot rows y dot cells x dot css class equals mine. This adds information to the page that will be recognized by its JavaScript code. Finally, you'll need to add code to add the numbers to the grid. Add the following code at the end of the page load event handler. Add numbers minegrid. I've written a fully commented add numbers method that uses the skills you've learned in this lesson to add numbers to the grid in compliance with the rules of the Minesweeper game. You can find the code in the utilities.cs file to confirm that you completely understand how it works. Now, let's test the page. View default.aspx in your web browser. And try clicking the cells in the grid. Clicking one of the mines will reveal all of the mines and display Game Over. So how does this page work? The page uses two table controls named Table Mask and Table Mines. These ultimately produce the HTML tables that you can see on the page. The Table Mines table contains images of mines in the locations specified in the MineGrid array, along with the numbers applied by the addNumbers method. The Table Mask table sits on top of Table Mines, hiding the mines and numbers from view. When you set the CSS class property of a cell in the Table Mines table to Mine, an image of a mine is displayed in the Table Mines table, although it is initially hidden by the Table Mask table. The page's JavaScript code runs whenever the user clicks a cell in the Table Mask table. The JavaScript code examines the CSS class property of the cell. If the JavaScript code finds a CSS class of mine here, it hides the Table Mask table and displays Game Over. Otherwise, it simply reveals the cell that the user clicked. This page uses jQuery to show and hide the cells. You'll learn more about jQuery in Lesson 8-9. Close your web browser now and close Visual Studio. You've now completed Lesson 2-7. Iterate through a multidimensional array.